Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Roses and Reactions. I know I say that every other week, but this time it's true.
Yeah, we just got through the Thanksgiving holiday and we took an extended break, but we had a really good reason for doing so.
We have been planning this pretty much since we began the show. We didn't know how we were going to do it. At first, we planned on doing every single MCU film in one show, but that wasn't realistic. We would literally be here for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
So we decided to cut it into phases, but instead of it being bi-weekly, how the show usually is, it's going to be week by week, like as a special event for the end of the year.
Yeah, so we're going to be on next. Yeah, we're going to be on next Saturday also.
If you're wondering why the camera's shaking, it's because it's her. Look how cute she is. Yeah. I'm going to let her outside while Mom takes over for a second.
So before we get started on the show, I just wanted to take a special moment to discuss the loss of a very special personality, Christine McVie. And Christine McVie, as many of you know, was the keyboardist in Fleetwood Mac. They've been around for decades and have one of the best-selling albums of all time, Rumors. And I was listening to it today. They were such a talented group, and Christine McVie is going to be sorely missed. There are some beautiful tributes to Christine from the members of the band, including Stevie and Lindsey Buckingham, that they'd written. They handwrote it on notebook paper. Very beautiful stuff. Christine will be sorely missed. This band, even though they had their problems over the years, they were one of the best groups ever. And I was very saddened by this loss. And the whole musical community mourns the loss of Christine McVie, a very special talent and wonderful person. So I just wanted to take a moment to discuss that. And so I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and we're back. So Rachel, what have you been doing lately?
Nothing. I've been working on a special project for Mom and her book, Wink, Wink, Nudge, Nudge. Stay tuned for future updates.
Yes. So my book, Warped Influences, is available on Amazon for a Christmas gift, and it's also available on Audible and many other places where you can get audio books, including Barnes and Noble. And it's even available in Sweden and Denmark. So it's international. So I hope everybody who buys it enjoys it and leaves a review. So I just do that pitch before we get started on our show.
So how this is going to work is every week in December, except for the 24th, because, Christmas Eve, we're going to be ranking all of the films in each phase of Marvel from worst to best, or least favorite to favorite, because I know, at least for me, I have movies from the MCU that I like way more than I can acknowledge that they're good. Yeah. And opposite to movies that I can acknowledge that are good, but I just don't personally like them.
So there are 6 movies in phase 1. So we're going to go through those, and Rachel's going to start off.
Okay. So my least favorite MCU movie from phase 1 is The Incredible Hulk. Now, you may be asking, but Iron Man 2, though. And honestly, I'm going to acknowledge this right now. This is where I had to specify instead of worst, best, least favorite to favorite, because I acknowledge that The Incredible Hulk is objectively a better movie than Iron Man 2 by like a long shot. But there are certain things about Iron Man 2 that make me have a soft spot for it. And we'll get to that when we get to that ranking on my list. But The Incredible Hulk is a good movie. However, the reason why I have it lowest on my ranking is for a few reasons. Number 1, I know that you are a bigger fan of this movie than me.
Yes, I am.
But I think we can both agree Abomination is not a good villain.
The Abomination was all right.
He was all right.
I thought it was a pretty good movie. I mean, I really enjoyed it when it was out. My husband is a huge Incredible Hulk fan. So, of course, I'm biased because he's, always nudging me that, the Hulk is the best.
I just feel like this movie doesn't really belong into the MCU. Like, I keep forgetting that it is. Like, and if you watch it, you understand. They completely replaced the Hulk in later films and even gave him like a semi-condensed origin to explain him. So this movie, I don't want to say it's not needed, but you could watch the other movies and understand what's going on. That and a lot of characters from this movie do not return at all in future movies.
I think the only one that does is Major Ross.
I think so too. Like the love interest, Betty Ross, never seen again.
And that's Liv Tyler, which I really enjoyed her in that film. And I liked Ed Norton. I really liked Ed Norton as the Hulk. But apparently there were some issues on set and such.
You see, I watched this another thing, and this is more subjectivity. I watched this movie after learning about the whole Ed Norton drama and how not good he was on set. And that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth watching his performance, even though he was pretty good objectively.
Yeah, I really like Edward Norton. I really liked the film a lot. But it's lowest on her list.
It's the lowest on my list.
The director was Louis Leterrier, who worked on The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. Is that a miniseries?
Yes, it's a miniseries based off of the worst Jim Henson movie.
Oh, no. That's not the worst Jim Henson movie.
It scarred me for life, so therefore it is the worst Jim Henson movie. They made me watch that when I was like 2.
The Dark Crystal's 40th anniversary is out tomorrow. And I tried to find a theater here that had it, and the closest place is like almost 45 minutes away. So unfortunately, I cannot torture her with The Dark Crystal.
You know what?
I love The Dark Crystal, by the way, just so you know. I really enjoy that film. I know a lot of people do not like it.
Now, before we move on, I see that Jerome is here in the chat.
Hello,
and
Jerome.
I've had his
feeling
comment
better
for a long time. And that's actually why, thank you, Jerome, for showing up. I know we didn't think you were because you had a lot going on today, and we hope you're doing better. I have never personally experienced one, but I heard kidney stones are awful as a bioengineer. So thank you for showing up.
We appreciate that.
And yes, a lot of people like The Dark Crystal. I acknowledge this. And I also acknowledge that if I watched it probably when I was older, I would love it because Labyrinth is like one of my favorite films of all time. But you have to understand, coming from like a 3 or 4-year-old little girl watching the dinner scene at her preschool, scarred for life. Scarred for life.
I just want to say, just to go off tangent on The Dark Crystal, when I was in middle school, they did a whole Jim Henson thing at the Museum of Science in Miami.
I wish.
They brought down all the Muppets, and they had them like in glass cases that were actually used in Dark Crystal and a lot of the other shows, and showed all the behind the scenes on how they did stuff. This is way before DVD behind the scenes stuff. I mean, they had a video about how they did the bicycle scene in the Muppet film, but they did the whole.
This literally sounds like my.
They had the whole dinner scene with all those puppets from
Horrible.
Dark Crystal in one corner, and then they had the main 2 characters like under glass. It was just so awesome.
What a dream come true. The field trips that we got, even when I was like younger in the early 2000s, were like, let's go to the park or let's go to the Imaginarium. We never got something like that. Never got like the best I think I ever got was Busch Gardens. So.
Yeah, but I was fortunate to live in Miami where there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of stuff going on. So
moving on. So I wonder what Mom's least favorite MCU first phase film is. I wonder if it's the one that's everybody's least favorite. Oh my gosh, it is.
Yes, Iron Man 2. I despise Iron Man 2. I went to see it in the theater and was totally just, Oh, that's really
so
cool.
So lucky, Cheryl. So lucky.
You're really, really lucky, Cheryl. Iron Man 2. I was just
though. I know you didn't like the film, but
I despised it. I didn't like the villain with his whips, and the only thing I really liked about it was Scarlett Johansson. That's the only,
of course,
saving grace.
You see, if you're new here, she has a tendency to make a movie better by default if somebody she likes is in it. Like, it can be the worst movie ever. Like, if you heard her take on Jaws 3D, it's good because what's her name? What's the
Leah Thompson?
Leah Thompson is in it, so therefore it's a good movie. Even though it's not. But
I
So
like it
yeah,
as
that's the
Quaid,
only
too.
redeeming quality you can find, though.
I don't know. I just didn't like it at all. I thought
Really?
it was, kind of blah, a blah follow up to the first one. But it was also directed by Jon Favreau, who is known now for
The Mandalorian.
Mandalorian, and he was on Lost, and he's done a bunch
He's
of
done
great
a bunch of
stuff.
stuff. He saved the the Clone Wars saga. Basically, he saved that for Star Wars. That was like horrible. All we had was the prequels, and then he came along. He did Clone Wars, right? So I don't sound like an idiot.
I think he helped in it. Yeah.
Yeah, he pretty much saved the pre.
Plus, he plays Happy, which is like one of my
Wars.
favorite characters in the Iron Man films. So, but other than that, I did not like Iron Man 2. So that is my lowest ranking of the Phase 1.
You know what? That's a good transition to go into why Iron Man 2 is not my least favorite MCU film from Phase 1. It's so awkward having to say that. But listen, I already said before, yes, probably objectively it's the worst movie here. However, I'm going to go over my list. 1, I really, really, really liked how they handled Tony Stark's alcoholism in this movie. If you have not read the Marvel comics, there is a storyline called Demon in a Bottle, which basically tackles Tony Stark's problems and issues with dealing with alcohol abuse. It is really good, and this movie doesn't adapt it like 1-to-1, but it tackles it, and it does it really well. As somebody who has gone through depression, the movie, the way they portray him is so accurate. So that's why it has a little soft spot in my heart. That's the main reason and why it's not at the bottom of my list. Now, here's some for miscellaneous things. Okay, I know Whiplash is not a good villain, right? But you know what? At least I remember his name, which can't be said for every single MCU villain. You gotta give him that. You can remember the guy's name.
Yes.
Even though he's not a strong villain
No.
in the slightest. And the second thing that I really liked about this film was the introduction of the boy.
The boy. Are you talking about Iron Man 3?
No. When I say the boy, I mean our boy. He's in the screenshot. In the suit, he's there. War Machine.
Oh, War Machine. Okay, you got me all confused.
I really like War Machine. He was a Whiplash wannabe.
I forget what is the name of that actor who, and I should know it because he was in Angel Heart, and I should know what his name is. But right now, I'm losing my thoughts. Anybody can help me? The actor who played Whiplash, because I just can't remember right now. But anyway,
that's why I don't utterly despise Iron Man 2, like a good majority of MCU fans who are like bottom of the barrel, along with Thor the Dark World, which it's like Thor the Dark World, Iron Man 2, some Iron Man 3. Am I missing anything?
I don't know, but let's go ahead and take a look at the comments here. Mickey Rourke, thank you,
Brett.
Much appreciated.
And thank you, Jerome.
Yes, thank you. That's helpful. I don't know why. It's just like my mind is just like these days. I just can't remember stuff that I should easily know. But
I do look, at least, Mom, I don't know any actors' names like at all. Like I could be like the biggest fan of something, and then I'd be like I didn't even know it was Scarlett Johansson in Black Swan. I got that right.
No.
I didn't get it right. I didn't. This is what I mean. What's her name?
Natalie Portman
in Black Swan, and Black Swan's one of my favorite movies. This is like perfect. The perfect embodiment of how my knowledge towards actors goes.
So let's do my number 5, because my number 5 is the reverse of yours, and I'll talk about it for a minute.
It's The Incredible Hulk.
So the reason why it's number 5 on my list is because I like it a lot better than Iron Man 2, but not only that, it ranks lower because Ed Norton isn't the actor who plays the Hulk later on, and it's just kind of like this outlier of all the Avenger films.
It is.
They should have remade it or should have done something.
It doesn't feel like it belongs in the MCU.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's such an outlier.
They pretend like it doesn't exist. Like I said, in the Avengers, when they reintroduce the Hulk, they give him like a brief backstory, so people they expect you to go into that not having watched the Incredible Hulk, which surprised me when I didn't even know for sure if this was part of the MCU. Until I found this little graphic online, which lists it there, and it's listed on Wikipedia and IMDb and everything. So it just doesn't feel. It doesn't.
Yeah,
click.
it doesn't. It's not. It's like it's an outlier.
It's literally the
like
definition of black sheep.
Yeah, I would agree. I would absolutely agree. So let's.
But no, before we move on,
okay.
There's stuff about this film that you really liked.
Yes.
And I was pretty negative on it earlier. I said it was a good movie, but I have problems with it. You want to name some of the things that you liked about it?
Well, I liked the Stan Lee cameo with
that's in every Marvel
with the drink. It was just kind of fun, and
you can do better than the Stan Lee cameo, Mama. If you're a fan of this.
Well, I thought it was funny the way they brought in the purple
Jennifer.
shorts. I liked how they brought in the purple short scene where he lost all this weight and that's all they had, and he's like stretchy, and they gave him the purple shorts. I like that.
You want to tell him about Bruce?
Yeah, I like the Liv Tyler. There's a thing that goes on in our family.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going on for
I didn't even know where
years.
it was from until I watched the movie, and I'm like,
yeah, since 2008. Brad and I will sometimes go around the house and we'll go, Bruce. There's that scene where it's like when she first sees him like for the first time after a long time, and it just became like this living meme in our house. And
we mean the weirdest things in our house, but when I watch the movie and I'm like, oh my god, I understand. It's like one of those mind blown moments. I'm like, what?
It's an inside joke between Brad and me, because he's such a Hulk fan. He didn't like the Ang Lee one at all. He really loved this film.
Does anybody like the Ang Lee one? Let's be real. Like I
haven't seen it, but Brad just despised it.
I have the Incredible Hulk at the bottom of my MCU list, and even it's leaps and bounds better than the Ang Lee Hulk.
But yeah, so
at least this movie had the Hulk.
I think I've seen probably this film actually more than any of the other Marvel films.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I've seen it the least. That's the weird thing. I have seen
when it first came out on DVD. You know how Dad used to watch movies over and over and over again. That's why I'm saying we used to watch it like constantly.
I cannot pronounce that, Mom. You know the actors.
Mickey Rourke? Oh, Lou Ferrigno did a cameo as a guard with Stan Lee. Yes. Thank you, Mike.
I don't know
that Lou Ferrigno was the Incredible Hulk in the television series.
There was a television series?
Oh, my dear. Yes, there was a television series in the 70s.
Okay, that explains it.
Yes, Bill Bixby. You've never seen anything online?
Nope, never even heard of it. Didn't even know.
Oh my goodness. That was like a huge thing with us kids. Your dad absolutely loves that show.
Like literally no idea that existed.
Okay, I'm going to have to introduce you to the Incredible
Hulk.
That
would be a good
series.
idea. Quick note for the future when we rewatch this. Good idea for a show. All these 70s and 60s superhero shows that I have no idea about, that could be a show. No.
I think we absolutely need to do it because you've never seen the Spider-Man movie or TV series.
I have not. Wait, there was a Spider-Man TV series?
Send her to the previous television SmackDown episode. Yes.
Wait, did you talk about it on the previous television SmackDown episode?
We did. Not this last one, but we have done a show on the Incredible Hulk, I believe, and other Marvel shows. So. But I think she needs to watch these shows herself and get a feel for them.
It's a classic. I'm curious, honestly. I'll have to check it out. Also, agreed, Joe. The Ang Lee Hulk movie is painful to watch. Literally, I had to do multiple sittings of it where I paused the movie, got up, lived my life, and come back because it's just horrible. It's just horrible. But moving on to something that's less horrible, and actually the first movie on this list that I can say I unironically or without any prejudice really, not really, but enjoyed pretty well, that would be Thor. Now, Thor came out when? In
2011.
2011. What month?
May 6th.
May 6th. I was 10 years old when I saw this movie in theaters, and this was the first MCU movie I ever saw in theaters, and I have vivid memories of going to see Thor. And it was just like a universe unlocked for me. I had never heard of these characters before and anything else. I have not really been exposed to any like action or superhero media before. So this was like a gateway to another world. And after that, I don't know if it was it was after the Avengers. I'll get to that when we talk about Avengers. But Thor is, like I said, the first movie on here that I can genuinely say I pretty much enjoyed all the way through. I know some people don't like it; they think it's too like slice of lifey, but I disagree entirely. Also, Jerome gets it. Darcy is amazing, and it is a crime that they have not included her in more MCU movies. An absolute shame. I love all of the human characters in this film. I love how Thor is portrayed in this film. I have such a soft spot, and I absolutely adore the big egotistical jerk gets knocked down a peg and becomes a better person trope. Like, that is my weakness. Absolutely adore it, and I think I developed my love for that trope because of this movie. But moving on, other things that I really like about Thor, we can pretty much agree that Loki, the villain Loki,
Tom Hiddleston,
is top 5 at the very least MCU villains of all time. He is so good. The way they portray him is so good, even in this movie. It's absolutely phenomenal, and we'll talk more about Loki when we get to Avengers, but how he is portrayed, his whole relationship with Odin and being adopted, it made fangirls all over the world swoon and post about him on Tumblr, including me back in the day. One of my first crushes. I'm gonna be real. Tom Hiddleston.
I remember you liked him so much. Yeah.
I adored him. And another thing about this movie that is just genuinely really, really good, and I think I can safely say is the best of the MCU movies up to that point, is the pacing.
Yes.
The way they pace this movie is so good. Like in The Incredible Hulk, you've got a little too much. Like the first act is a little cut off too much, I think.
You think it's too long?
Mm-hmm. Iron Man 2 is all over the place. Iron Man 1 is pretty good, but there's a big chunk in the second act that kind of drags. I would say that this is the first MCU movie that's paced pretty much perfectly, in my opinion. We got a bunch of comments to catch up on, so if you want to like give some like logistics while I'm like reading through these.
Oh, sure.
Oh yes, WandaVision, Darcy is a major character. I need to thank you, Jerome, for reminding me to rewatch WandaVision. Not rewatch WandaVision, finish WandaVision. I have gone to episode 2, and then I watched Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, realized I had no idea what was going on, and realized I got to rewatch WandaVision and then rewatch the movie. So thank you for reminding me. Oh yes, Loki, agreed. Loki has one of the best story arcs through the MCU. We'll probably get more to that in the upcoming weeks when we talk more about the upcoming phases. And actor mom, you're up. Kat Dennings, Darcy, thank you. He did it for me. Was an awesome in the film and a comic psychic. Yes, that's you know what, Mike? You just pointed out something to me that I didn't even realize until now. Darcy is a comic relief character. Comic relief characters, I usually don't like them, like, at all. The fact that I didn't even realize Darcy was a comic relief character till it was pointed out to me just shows how well she was done. Now, I know I said Mom would be reading a bunch of, like, facts about this movie while we were doing this, but I kind of just stole the stage. Sorry about that.
That's okay, because why don't we just go ahead and show what mine is, because you and I are both on the same the same one for number 4.
Oh, really?
Yep.
It's also Thor.
Yep, Thor. It was directed by Kenneth Branagh, and I didn't know this until we pulled up the information tonight that it was directed by him. He does all these. He has this Shakespearean background.
Henry V. Much Ado About Nothing, which I still need to read.
Really good.
Hamlet, one of the best movies I've ever seen.
So I guess that they chose him to do this film because Thor kind of has that kind of Shakespearean story telling, and I think it was done really well. I thought it was directed wonderfully. I loved, that they had it was Rene Russo who played his mom, and Anthony Hopkins as Odin, which is, he just blew it out of the park. Great film. I absolutely, I'm a big Natalie Portman fan, as everybody in this household knows. So Thor is just a solid film. Wonderful.
Also, Joe, Darcy's in the comics. Thank you for letting me know. Now I gotta check them out. But we have been gushing about this film. This is number 5 out of like 6 films. Like, I mean, number 4 for both of us out of like 6 films. Third to last, and we're already like gushing, like no negatives. So I guess I gotta add some negatives real quick about Thor, even though I pretty much love it. There are some characters in this movie that don't get explored too much and don't come back. Like the whole Warriors 3 gang don't really have much of a presence in the future movies. Sif does, but not them.
I like them too. I really like them.
Yeah, I like them, but they're not developed. So that's a flaw, I guess, in retrospect. I'm really trying here.
Trying to think of negative things to say.
Some of the humor is not always a hit.
But I
But it's redeemed. Everything is redeemed by Thor throwing down the mug and screaming another. So yeah, some of the humor in this movie is cringe, and some of the characters don't get developed. That's literally all I got. You have anything?
I really have nothing negative to say about Thor. It's a solid movie.
Oh, and Jane should have appeared in more movies that weren't Love and Thunder. That completely ruined her character. Spoilers. Not spoilers. Well, spoilers for later in this event. But, so, yeah, like I said, third worst MCU Phase 1 movie.
So wait a second. Jerome says Zachary Levi was in Thor. What part did he play? I don't remember him in that.
Don't even know who that is.
Zachary Levi plays Shazam in the Shazam movies.
Okay. Him.
And I'm surprised that you were saying that you didn't have a lot of, with your dad being a big comic guy, I'm surprised you're saying that you really didn't have a lot of comic background. I mean, you just don't remember, that he watched all these Avengers shows when you were a kid? Did you just like totally block that out?
I did. I will get to that.
Okay.
I do. Also, hello, Jenny. Hey! Look, everybody who's like a usual on here. This is my friend. I have friends. I have a social life. Look. And also, she's completely 100% right. Queen. Darcy did not get enough love. Should have appeared more. 100%. Love ya. Okay. He was not in Thor. We're getting contradictions from like our 2 smartest people in the chat. Well, at least lore-heavy people.
Oh, Zachary Levi played Flynn Rider in Tangled? I didn't know that.
Really?
Oh, I never knew that.
Oh, okay. All right. So like I said, third worst MCU Phase 1 movie. So it can only go up from here. Yes. Literally. So we won't be unfortunately, we probably won't be this positive once we get to some of the later phases, but it's nice to revel in that positivity for now.
It was a great Phase 1.
Mm-hmm. So my next movie that I have for my third best, basically, now we're going into the top 3, is Captain America, which I have told people. I've had this conversation where I'm like, I love Captain America. It's like my third favorite Phase 1 movie. And they're like, it's only your third? And people love this movie, man. I've gotten crap for saying that, for basically this placement that I have it here on this list, which it's literally not this movie's fault at all. Like, this movie does nothing wrong to get at that placement. I just like the other movies above it more. That's literally it. But Captain America is such a good movie for a character that I thought was going to be so boring as a kid. Like, you have to understand, 10-year-old, when did this movie come out?
It came out on July 22nd, 2011.
10 years old again. And I went in really only a month after Thor? That can't be right.
2 months.
2 months. Wow. You don't get that anymore. But 10-year-old going into a movie, this guy doesn't have superpowers. This is going to be so boring. And I wasn't bored. How was I not bored? This movie is so well written that it's just phenomenal. How they got, like, I know Captain America was portrayed in other media, and I don't think he's had correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's had a generally considered positive screen debut until this movie.
No, I wouldn't say so. I would say that, people would probably think it was kind of bland,
Mm-hmm. The thing about Captain America that just works so well is the character. Mom, I'm horrible. I'm sleeping on the name.
What, Chris Evans?
No. The name of the character.
Of Captain America?
All right, guys. We're both being dumb.
Here,
we got this.
Throw Jerome's comment up there.
While we're waiting for somebody to correct our dumb selves. People love this because it was a great origin film. The transformation of a weak kid to superhero is what everyone's. Thank you, Jerome. You put it so concisely. What I was just trying to explain. Thank you so much, Steve Rogers. Thank you, Jenny. I don't know how we forgot that, but Steve Rogers is probably, at least from has the best first showing of a character in the MCU objectively.
Yes.
I mean, I love Thor. Like I said, I love that trope, but he is just so charismatic. He's like the embodiment of charisma.
Yes,
absolutely love it.
I totally agree.
Oh my gosh, yes. Peggy got the dance she asked for at the end, so going back and watching it gives me sentimental value. Oh my gosh. And I understand, number one, phase one movie, in my opinion, that is a common sentiment among people. And yes, the ending, thank you for reminding me. I wasn't even considering the ending, which is a shame because it's probably one of the best parts of this movie. This movie where Steve is wakes up in the future and is like, I missed the date. I don't remember the exact line because I am scum. But I remember as a 10-year-old little baby girl literally crying at that scene. Even I realized how emotional that scene was. It's literally perfect. And I think it might be my favorite ending to any MCU movie, to be quite honest.
So we got what
Captain America is probably the best origin story of any Marvel film so far. Excellent period piece. Objectively, 1000%. If you know the remaining two movies, you know that I don't share that opinion from a subjective lens, but a lot of that comes down to personal factors. But yes, best origin movie by far, I think, objectively speaking. Also, everybody keeps reminding me of amazing aspects of this film. Red Skull, amazing villain, not as good as Loki from Thor, but still amazing villain.
Yes, and my son, I remember he had this really big thing on Arnim Zola. Remember how he used to go around talking about Arnim Zola all the time? I forget the actor who played him, but my son loved Captain America. And it's one of my favorites also.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit higher up on the list than you on that one, but it's just great.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm trying to
talk
think
a little bit more about it
real quick. For me, at least, I'm gonna pick negatives. Okay, this is gonna be even harder than Thor. I gotta think of at least one negative to this movie, which is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. You can help out too.
Hey, what was the name of the group of people that was hung out with Steve Rogers? I forgot what their name was, but I love that set of people with Bucky Barnes. And let's talk about Bucky real quick. Okay?
We're gonna talk about Bucky more, but in this movie,
yes, I love Sebastian Stan. Okay, and we knew who Sebastian Stan was when we came into this film because we were big fans of Once Upon a Time, and we knew he was leaving his role as the Mad Hatter to do Captain America, and we thought, oh, well, he'll be back. He's just doing this movie and he'll be back.
Nope, he did.
And he never came back. So we lost the Mad Hatter, but we got Bucky Barnes instead.
Toby Jones plays Arnim Zola.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Howling Commandos. Look at our genius, 100% knowledgeable people in the chat. Living encyclopedias, these two.
Yes, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. We're so glad you're here to help us fill in the gaps because sometimes we get tongue-tied, we get brain, it just...
Still trying to think about a negative. I refuse to move on until I can think of the most basic negative that I can think of. Okay, I got one. For an MCU movie, MCU is primarily known for humor. And this movie took a more serious approach. There wasn't a lot of laughs to be had in this movie. That's literally all I got. That's all I got. and it's a technicality. It's not even really a negative. It's just saying it's not like other MCU movies.
Well, it has that really cool scene where he has to do that thing for the USO.
I'm talking in general. Let me have this.
I thought the costumes in this movie were incredible.
Amazing.
By the way, including the Captain America with the old. I just absolutely adore it.
Mm-hmm. Now, moving on to your number 3. That's mine. Pull up. Little technical thing. Iron Man.
My number 3 is Iron Man. And Iron Man, it came out May 2nd, 2008. Directed by Jon Favreau, as we talked about earlier. This was Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback film.
Mm-hmm.
This saved his career. As many people know, Robert Downey Jr. was a young actor in the 1980s, and a lot of actors in the 1980s got in a lot of trouble with drugs, and it almost killed his career. He you didn't see him for the longest time, and then he doing Iron Man just totally shot him back to fame. And
that's something I knew, Jerome. I got it. Yes, they changed the setting, the war that this movie takes place in, I believe, there are so many Middle Eastern wars, to the...
I think it was like Desert Storm or something, maybe?
I'm talking about just in general, the...
Middle East.
Iraq.
Yeah, Middle East.
We have had so many wars in the Middle East, but a more modern war, it originally took place in Vietnam, but they wanted to make it with the MCU more modern, so they upped the war. That's what I knew. I knew that one, so I'm happy.
That is true, Mike.
Afghanistan, that's what I was going for. So many wars in the Middle East. Iran, Iraq, the war against Iraq. I think they were pretty vaguely named, but Afghanistan, yes. And Robert Downey Jr. did a great job as Charlie.
He
played Charlie.
Yes. He got accolades for playing Charlie Chaplin. That is true.
I had no idea.
Yep.
But this movie I will get to it when I talk a little more about mine. But I do want to say real quick that Iron Man, the first one, was revolutionary.
Yes, it was.
It was revolutionary.
We have the poster on our wall. My husband and I went to see this film. We were totally blown away by it, and we bought the movie poster for it.
And that was before you knew what it would become, what this whole thing.
Yeah, we didn't even know. No, we just loved the movie. So the poster's still on our wall. It's the one movie poster we've got still on our wall in our living room.
And like I said, we bought that in 2008?
2008.
We did, like I said, we didn't know.
Yeah, we came back from the movies. We ordered that poster online.
I wasn't there, of course, because like I said, Thor was my first movie. I watched Iron Man after, and we'll get to that. But I wanted to just say that the MCU and pretty much the DCAU and pretty much every cinematic universe that exists to this day probably would not have existed without Iron Man. Iron Man kicked off with that end credit scene with Nick Fury talking about the Avengers, started something that would become bigger than the superhero genre itself and transform into all of cinema. It is literally a piece of history, and that's pretty incredible, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And since I'm going to keep gushing about Iron Man, I do have Iron Man on this list higher. It's my number 2, higher than Captain America, my second favorite Phase 1 movie. And this movie means so much to me. I just want to read some comments. I gotta gather my thoughts. The brilliance of Iron Man is Jon Favreau taking a character that was only a niche in the comics and making him a household name 100%. I don't think Iron Man had a TV series, did he?
He didn't have his own separate thing. He was in some of the 60s shows, and, you didn't really, he was just like there. It's sort of like Aquaman, just around, not a big part at all in the cartoons.
Dumb question.
Yeah.
What is Blade?
Oh, going to disagree without Blade, not MCU. Okay. Rachel, I don't think you've seen Blade.
I don't know what it is.
Blade
was the first Marvel character to make big bucks. I agree with that, Jerome. Well, I don't agree. I don't know who Blade is. Maybe you can explain what Blade is.
Blade is a film about a vampire that fights other vampires, and
so like Morbius, but good.
He was played by Wesley Snipes, and the first film is absolutely incredible. I can't believe your dad has not introduced you to this film because he loved Blade. In fact, he was just watching it a couple of weeks ago.
What I was trying to say that I agree with is I agree with the sentiment that yes, it is the first MCU movie or the first Marvel movie to make big bucks. But Iron Man is the first. What I was trying to get across is that it jump started
like a
bigger universe than itself.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had if Iron Man hadn't been as successful as it was. I don't think we would have had all these. It just started rolling with all these different films.
And like I wanted to say with Iron Man, I think I've gathered pretty much what I want to say. The reason that this movie is better than Captain America, which is probably objectively a better movie, similar to how Incredible Hulk is a better movie objectively than Iron Man 2, is because Iron Man made me think of stuff. Like I said, Thor was I think of stuff, but I said collect my thoughts. It didn't, apparently. Thor was my first MCU film, and I loved it. Iron Man was my second MCU film. After I watched Thor in the theater, I went home, watched everything that came up to that point, and binged it. Iron Man was the movie that made me go, wow. Like, I wouldn't be a Marvel fan. I think it might have been a fad if I had just watched Thor and that was it. Iron Man just meant so much to me. The character of Tony Stark, like I said, it's the same effect as Thor. Jerk character, redeemed throughout the movie. Great characterization, but I think I would say that Tony Stark as a character does that a lot better than Thor, because while Thor's story is condensed into a singular movie, Iron Man's growth continues even after this movie. And where he ends in this movie is just the starting point for him. But he's already grown so much, and it's just brilliant. I've just been saying it's brilliant, it's amazing over and over again, but I honestly can't put into words how much this movie meant to me, especially as a little child. The ending scene where he says that he is Iron Man is just so iconic. It's up there with one of the most iconic things in the MCU. The villain of this movie, not as good as Red Skull or not even Loki or Red Skull, or even I would say somebody like, I don't know. He's probably like C tier. Obadiah is probably like C tier, but he works in the movie. He works as an opponent for Tony Stark. He works as a contrast to him. He is everything that Tony was. And Tony has changed, and that's perfect, because the movie, at the beginning of the movie, they are allies. At the end of the movie, they are not allies. And that's because Tony changed and he didn't. And that's why he works, even though I can't remember his name. But Pepper Potts, that's another one. Pepper Potts, great character. Oh, yeah, probably the best love interest introduced as a whole in the MCU, I would say by far. You have anything else to add about this movie while I check out some comments?
Not really. I mean, I just really enjoyed the film. It was very powerful, the way that they did it. And, Robert Downey Jr., I think that he made Iron Man into something, very unique and special. Jebediah. Okay. I don't know why I kept saying Obadiah, but I think you're right.
If you're wondering why the screen keeps shaking, it's because our cat's being horrible.
And he was played by Jeff Bridges.
Mm-hmm. And I have to 100% agree with the sentiments from Cheryl and Joe about Robert Downey Jr. being the perfect person to play Tony Stark. Even as a child, a little baby infant who had no idea what acting was or characters or how actors are chosen, he was Tony Stark. He was perfect.
Yeah.
He was perfect.
He
And
really...
he continued to be perfect.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
It is Obadiah.
It's some kind of Aya.
You're right. You're right about
I just didn't get the last name. And thank you for that, Mike.
Jeff Bridges.
Obadiah Stone. Thank you.
And there was a comment up here real quick that I wanted to point out. Jerome, the Demon in the Bottle storyline, I admit that is one of my favorite Iron Man comic stories as well. And that's, I don't know if you missed it, but that's pretty much why Iron Man 2 wasn't at the very bottom of my list, because even though they didn't completely adapt the storyline, it had elements from it, and it was just, it's not as good as Demon in a Bottle. But the fact that they addressed it at all it made me really like the film. Well, at least more than I probably should have objectively. But still, I do wish that we could have gotten a proper adaptation of that. I agree, 100%. And I went all the way and scrolled all the way up for that because I 100% agree with that sentiment. Demon in Bottle is like one of my favorite comic stories of all time. So.
Oh, so State and Stark were rivals in the comics.
Really?
Do you mean Stone and Stark, or State? Okay. Autocorrect.
That's interesting to me. I had no idea. Like I said, I am casual to the comics. I read comic stories that sound interesting to me, but I had no idea about that. Interesting. Yeah. I really got to brush up on my comic knowledge. Stain. There we go. You got it.
Oh, Stain. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we flip-flopped because my 3 was Iron Man and my 2 was Captain America.
But I think we can all agree, because there's only one movie remaining. Stain!
Thank you. Obadiah Stane. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Thank you very much.
I think we both agree 100%.
Yes.
Because there's one movie left for both of us. So I'm just going to put both of these up at the same time.
So yes, the number one is...
that's Captain America. Really ruining the tension. It's the Avengers. Absolutely.
And we did not look at each other's list until the show. Okay, we try to keep them hidden as long as possible until we got to it. So we both agree the Avengers is the number one film.
There are so many reasons why. First off, genius decision to bring back Loki. Like, strongest villain by far up until that point, and bringing him back for this, brilliant. And not only did they bring him back, it wasn't like a copy-paste situation where they just redid his storyline over again. They did something new with him, which is respectable, but they still kept him the same character. Once again, respectable. And the thing is, why I'm bringing up Loki first is because he's probably my least favorite thing in this movie, because I have so many favorite things in this movie.
Okay.
But you want to go ahead and give some history?
Sure. The movie came out May 4th of 2012, so that's 10 years old this year. Boy, we're getting old, aren't we? Wow. So you were 12. And I was
When did this come out? May? No, I was 11.
Oh, okay, May of 2012. It was directed by the person whose name we won't mention. And there's a couple of changes in the Avengers. One, Ed Norton did not return as the Hulk, as we mentioned earlier.
I don't know how unpopular an opinion this is. Mark Ruffalo is so much better than Ed Norton. I liked Ed Norton and The Incredible Hulk. I adore Mark Ruffalo.
I love Mark Ruffalo. I love his body of work before he came on board. So when I found out that he was replacing Edward Norton, I was very happy. I think he's just an incredible actor. I think he took the role and made it his own. And it's just a delight to watch. And so Absolutely. I really enjoy Mark Ruffalo. And we also get the first appearance of Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye.
Which, this is a good point. What they did to Hawkeye in this movie is a crime.
And the actor was not happy about it either.
I will. But you see, I kind of view this with rose-tinted glasses because they did so much to make it up to him in future films. They did so much to make it up to him.
He got his own show, too.
Yes, this is a negative with the film, but there's so much in this that I like, that even though that, like, pushes it down, it, like, pushes it down by, like, a micro inch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really was a tragedy, though. I wish they could have done something better with his character, like they did for Black Widow, who was introduced in Iron Man 2, but really made her official debut and made the audience love her in this movie.
Yeah,
that whole interrogation
her opening scene is incredible.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So we got some comments here. So
Ruffalo was incredible as the Hulk. Yes, 1,000%.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the buildup of the origin films to Avengers literally influenced a modern filmmaking.
I agree.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It was like one of the biggest. Even as a kid, I remember this was, I think, one of the only packed theaters I have ever been in. This and Force Awakens, I think, where there was like no seats left. And I remember this was something special. This was something people were talking about. Like when it was announced, people were talking about.
This is what movie, and we haven't really had that in a long time where you just want to go to the theater to see this film on the big screen. I mean, this wasn't something you were going to wait and what it's going to come out next month on HBO Max, because at that time there was no HBO Max and we didn't have all the streaming going on. Mm-hmm. So this was a big event. In fact, we all got matching Avengers t-shirts, mm-hmm. and we have photos somewhere of you three. I don't think I was I think I took the photo, but there's three of you with all the Avengers shirts mm-hmm. on when we went to go see it at the theater. And we did mm-hmm. that a few times where we would dress up in like different, all like matching t-shirts for these films, because it was a family event. It was a family affair. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big part of, our family history.
Especially, the that's why we do these early MCU movies so fondly, is probably because they were big events for us. We didn't get to go to the movies that often, but when we did, we knew it was for something special, and most of that was for MCU related stuff.
Or Star Wars.
Or Star Wars.
So it was a big thing in our family to go. It was a big family event to go to these MCU films, especially as the kids got older. Mm-hmm. I think Avengers was really the first one where we all decked out and just made a big thing of it.
I think so, because it was special. And yes, Jerome, it did make a boatload of money. I don't recall the exact numbers, but it was like, I think it was just below Avatar for a while.
I don't even know.
Don't recall, but I know it was up there, and rightfully so. This movie was so good. Other little things, well, not really little, but other things that I really like, just seeing how these characters that you got to know through the origin films interact with each other, meet with each other, is just a spectacle to behold. Even as a kid, and I say that a lot, but even as a kid, it was like so cool. It was almost like fan fiction in a way, if that makes sense to you, where these characters, it felt like these are like separate universes almost, right?
And you
get to come together, and that's only stuff that you didn't really get to see really at all at the time. You didn't really get to see that.
Was this like one of the first films where they had like a double ending? Because remember that everybody was like, stay for the second scene, and mm-hmm. it was the shawarma scene.
There has been an after credit scene through every movie, but this was the shawarma scene.
It was a double
mm-hmm.
end credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly.
I remember at the time in theaters us being really, particularly being really mad that she made it, because she's like, no, you don't understand the after credit scene so much. It was the shawarma scene. I have grown. My real character development is going to love the shawarma scene for the amazingness that it is. But
here we go. Mike has the money. Thank you, Mike.
There's the money.
Wow, can you imagine? Woo, that is a lot of money.
A lot of money. And we have been talking about like the influence of this film, how it impacted us. We haven't really been talking a lot about the film itself. So how about we do that? This film,
what?
I don't know. I just like blank spaced for a second there. I don't know what that was. But this film has some of, like I said, Thor, I think Thor, Captain America, they did the pacing really well. This movie, also amazingly paced.
It was great.
That's just the thing. This is cemented what I consider MCU humor. This is the movie that cemented the MCU as one of the funniest movie series of all time for me. The Hulk smash, Puny God moment, hilarious. I think that even got Dad to laugh, and my dad doesn't laugh at anything. So the action, that whole scene where they're in New York and they all like circle around and they're all like preparing their weapons and getting ready to fight. It's just one of the most hype moments I've ever seen in movie history.
Yeah, and that's why they use it all the time when they're, when they're doing their MCU thing. How they have that. The way that was filmed was just so cool. It was just really neat. So
I think everybody would like that money in their bank account. I don't know a person who wouldn't. And if they say they wouldn't, they're lying. Let's be real. They're trying to sound altruistic.
So did you see the Hawkeye series, Rachel? Joe mentioned.
I have not. I am lacking on the MCU miniseries. I've got to get to that. Like I said, I have only seen barely any WandaVision. I have seen pretty much all of Loki, and I haven't seen none of Falcon Winter Soldier. None of Hawkeye. I have seen Miss Marvel. I have seen parts of She-Hulk, and so I gotta really catch up. Yes, Avengers Assemble. Oh my gosh! I just remember. I think we had cheers in our theater. We had cheers.
That's the thing about the movie. Going to the movies is when you have an audience that's like, and the film's electric, and everybody's just all together, like shouting and clapping, and everybody was just.
You can't replicate that experience with
at the house.
Direct to streaming movies.
Yeah, it's just like woot. Woot, but when you can feel that energy in a room, and you felt it gets you hyped.
People are getting hyped, and that gets you hyped, even though you were already hyped, which makes you even more hyped. It's an incredible experience. I pretty much remember my entire experience with this movie as just pure pleasure. I had an absolutely amazing time with Avengers, and it's still one of my favorite MCU movies, not just Phase 1 movies, to pretty much this day. Out of everything, with the dozens and dozens of MCU movies that have come out now, Avengers still manages to be one of the best.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just a really feel-good film, and absolutely love it.
So I think
here Joe says about Hawkeye
being a great Christmas show. Then I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, because this is the season. It was out last year, and we don't get to watch a lot of TV. I come home really late, and so we're just usually grabbing, right now, just so you know, we're watching JoJo's The Final Phase of Stone Ocean on Netflix, and she's told me, she did not want me to get the end spoiled, and I've done it.
I've been telling you this before the anime even came out.
I've been very good about it, so we're going to try to finish watching that this weekend, so I won't be spoiled, and I haven't been spoiled. So, but yeah, we don't get to watch a lot. I mean, I'm never home, and she likes to watch stuff she likes somebody to interact, and watch together. So, our time is limited, unfortunately, but this, I think I want to thank everybody for coming to the show tonight.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to be back next Saturday for
phase 2, which I don't recall what that consists of yet. I have a general idea, but I'll figure it out. I'll pull up a guide somewhere, and we'll post it to our page on Facebook.
So thank you for joining us.
But thank you all so much.
Avengers,
we had a blast.
December, yes.
Like I said, we've been planning this forever, and it's amazing to see it come to fruition.
Hey, wait, before we go, I just want to give a plug, because right now it's 8:00, and I wanted to say that our friends over at Nerd Culture, Ryan Permison, they're doing a tribute to Jason David Frank. So you might want to hop over and join that as well if you were a big fan of Power Rangers and the amazing guy. He was just such a great to his fans. So you might want to check out that. So
thank you, Cheryl. And Jerome, I would love to have a watch party with you. 100%. Hit me up. We'll talk about it. I love watching stuff with people. 100%. And thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, thank you everybody who showed up. We had a great time. I hope y'all had a great time. And we'll see you.
Hopefully we'll see you next Saturday.